Welcome, everybody, back to a brand new episode of the Transcend Plan, your go to podcast for transgender history. As always, I'm your host, Marty, and it is an absolute pleasure to be back here with you all. Another episode, another season, another year. Welcome to 2025. Welcome to season 8, episode 1. And I'm so happy to be back, y'all. Look, I gave y'all good audio again. Listen to that. Look. That's only because I actually came back to my equipment recently. So I'm happy that I got like my original setup back to actually be able to provide y'all high quality episodes again. I'm happy to obviously give y'all a season 8. And I laugh about this sometimes because I'm like, I only got like 6 to 8 episodes per season. And it's like, yeah, that's low, but like 8 seasons is still good. Hey, can't be mad at that. 8 seasons is still good. And obviously from the support of you all, makes me continue to make more seasons. Provide y'all with more information. So that's the fun part about all this. I am sad to be here. I apologize in advance for obviously dropping this episode prior to the presidential inauguration for those who live in the United States of America. And for my new listeners, I don't do this normally before all my episodes. I'm just doing this for this one because for this to be the first episode, and as I mentioned before, dealing with tomorrow being that our president is a felon who serves no jail time because he's becoming president. A president who, I have so many words to say, but to think about our future, obviously, as somebody who is one Black, another trans, and works in social justice advocacy, and dealing with, I guess, clients, you could say. Yeah, clients who use my expertise to showcase that we have a lot to learn as a society, and sometimes do mentorship for younger LGBTQ plus youth. It has been a lot to think about, a lot to do in the back end. I am trying my best to work with other organizations, friends of mine who work in policy, public policy, etc., to ensure we have a safe space for those who are within either the trans community or really, like I said, the entire LGBTQ plus population in the community. So stay tuned for that on my basic social media, but also as well from the Transcend Plan social media as I get more information and things going on. This will be more for the Atlanta area, but if I do find anything that's more global based, I will let you all know. No, I'd be happy to share that. But really, this message is for parents, family members, friends of those who identify within the community, obviously allies as well. We want you all, because I know obviously this is probably new for most people, and maybe not all, to just provide as much love and support as you can to members of the community. I promise you right now that all those who have the power or some sort of power to make sure that we provide safe havens and more information to the community as much as possible, we're working in the back end to make that happen. So what we need from you all right now, at least, is to just be very vocal on your love, support, and allyship of those who are within the LGBTQ plus community. Because right now, as you can see, big companies are just going rampant right now with anti-LGBTQ plus policies, laws, getting rid of DE&I at companies. So it's just been a lot. It's been a lot. So just as I mentioned, just do your best to be very vocal about your love and support for those who are either very close to you or even within the vicinity of you, etc. Because it is going to be a very long 4 years. So to wrap up that rant, kind of ish, let me just say, thank you so much for listening first to my TED Talk. I guess it's not really a TED Talk, but thank you for your love and support. One for this podcast, but also for those who are around you and are very close to you as well. So now, like I said, let me welcome everybody to come into the Transformative podcast. To my brand new listeners, welcome, welcome, welcome. If this is your very first time here, I normally don't do those rants at the beginning of my podcast. I normally just like praise you all for being here to support. So I apologize for that first, like maybe 5 minutes of your time. But welcome to the podcast. Our podcast is not just about history, but also serves as a platform for education, providing you with some valuable insights into the transgender community. We aim to inspire understanding, promote inclusivity, and spark conversations about the transgender community by sharing expert knowledge and resources for further learning. Now, each episode of our podcast is intentionally designed to be concise yet comprehensive, with a duration of about 15 to, I guess now, 25 minutes, because they have been a little bit longer than the 20 minutes I normally used to do. To give you something to start with, and then you can learn more on your own time. So welcome, 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 welcome. To my returning listeners, thank you so much for continuing to support the podcast. You mean so much to me. I like, you should see the smile on my face right now, but you mean so much to me to continue to support the podcast, to listen to the podcast, to share the podcast, to rate the podcast, because I'm trying to work with Apple to get rid of the negative bigotry reviews that they leave, and not obviously listen just to bombard with the dumbest things ever. And I try not to cuss because the kids might be listening. But just to thank you for continuing to support and just share so much love. I honestly can't wait for my returning listeners to see all the cool things that I have, and even new people if you decide to like this episode today. I'm working on getting like all the merch and things together, going back up on the Patreon thing again, which you can join right now because it is free. You don't have to pay anything right now. But like, just getting all that together. So I want to give y'all something to walk away with as returning listeners, and to be very supportive listeners, because you all deserve that. You really do. So thank you so much for continuing to support. All right. In today's exploration, we will be diving deep into the extraordinary life and lasting influence of Jackie Shane, who was a pioneering soul singer. Jackie's voice and authenticity challenged and transcended the rigid societal norms that happened within the mid-20th century. So let's get into it. Born in Nashville in 1940, Jackie Shane discovered and embraced her authentic self from a remarkably early age. She began to self-identify as a woman by the age of 13, growing up in the complex societal landscape of the Jim Crow era, which presented unprecedented challenges as she navigated intersecting experiences of racial discrimination and gender identity. During a time when society imposed strict limitations really on both fronts. Now, her journey through this period demonstrated extraordinary resilience and self-awareness. Now, what made Jackie's story particularly remarkable and inspiring was the unwavering support that she actually received from her mother, Jessie Shane. Now, as you all know, or most of us here, I'm sure know, coming out as trans, especially early, or really at any point in time, and getting the acceptance that you want is a coin flip, right? You got heads, which can be the good side, right? You get love and support from your family, from your friends, from coworkers, if you decide to come out at work, et cetera, et cetera. You just get an unwavering amount of support from people around you. And then on tails, which is the bad side, right? You get neglect, homophobia, transphobia, and just hatred all around from those that you really wish you got support from. And unfortunately, from, I don't say a large percentage, but I'll just say a nice percentage, too much of a percentage comes from the tail side of it. where we get the negative. I want to talk about myself because, as most of you all know who do follow me, whether that's via social media or just from previous episodes of this podcast, um, my life is not the typical life of people that I'm close to, people that I assist on a consistent basis. So the beauty about Jackie's story, and especially back in the time of the 1940s to 50s, receiving this nurturing, accepting environment really provided her with a foundation of strength and confidence, which is why me as somebody who sometimes works, who initially worked with parents of LGBTQ plus kids, to now basically teaching the general public about us as a trans community, is very important. Like I said, because it builds a life and a mentality for those who identify as trans to be able to express themselves authentically, to give them a foundation of confidence, of love, of nurture, um, for those who decide to come out, right? And with this, Jackie actually used what I like to call our first step into you know really bridging into who you are, right? She started wearing makeup and jewelry to school, even with the obviously notably restrictive social climate of the 1950s in the American South. Now, in 1959, Jackie's life underwent a transformative change when she made the bold decision really to relocate to Toronto, Canada. Now, this move proved to be a pivotal moment in her journey, as she later eloquently expressed, and this is a quote from her directly: "I've never felt that good before, and I felt so free." In the more accepting atmosphere of Toronto, she began her complete openness and authenticity, confidently wearing wigs and makeup both during her performances and in her early life, in her daily life. Now, one thing I kind of wanna talk about really quick is, let me think about how I want to say this. It's not like a bad thing. Let me give an example of my life, right? Recently, I had went back to my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, and when I was living in Cleveland, I did not identify or come out as trans at that moment. It was very still me identifying as a woman, using she, her pronouns, still appearance wise, still dressing in a feminine attire. Um, I went to prom with a guy that I became close with more in senior year of high school. We went, it was a great time. And recently, when I decided to go back home, I actually ended up seeing him in a Walmart that I was at. Now, when I think about this, and I told my mom about this, and she started dying laughing, is that some people that I follow from high school still follow me currently to this day. They seen the transition on social media, etc. So they know, but not everybody, right? One of these individuals being my high school prom date. Um, Giving yourself the ability to transform into the individual in which you would like to be allows you sometimes to start over, right? It allows you to fully embrace the person that you've always wanted to be, and which I did, right? I didn't have a problem if he did decide to like recognize me, right? But it was just the fact that we passed each other. Me obviously knowing still who he is, but him not knowing who I am now in this new life that I'm living. Sometimes, like you say, you get the blessing of that, depending on who you like to let people know, of your transformation. But also, too, as well, if you don't want people to know about your transformation, and I think kind of having that moment where you do feel free from a past that you may or may not want to get away from. It all depends on who you are, of course. But also continue on to just be like, hey, like, it feels good that if I decided, like I said, me and him don't have any like beef or nothing, but if I decided to go back someplace that was home, and if I did have a terrible experience, which I didn't, but if I did, I did have that freedom to start over and just be free from the horrific past, you know. Um, and like I said, mine wasn't that case, but just thinking about it from another perspective and another lens of just having freedom to be authentically you, live your life the way you want, not have to worry about those who you grew up with and etc. Uh, and just finally have openness and authenticity. I think is very powerful. If you, at least if you look at it from my way, my life, like I said, it wasn't bad, but just if you looked at it from that lens, I guess it just feels good. Now, Jackie's, music life or music career, I'm sorry, really began when she was like an early teen, right? They always said that she had a remarkable vocal ability where she had incredible rhythm, really. Um, and during this time of her early life, she had an amazing, amazing time. So her music career ended up blossoming and reached new heights throughout the 1960s, where her soulful rendition of Any Other Way, which becoming not just a hit, but really a cultural touchstone in Toronto. She had formed a powerful musical partnership with Frank Motley's band, establishing herself as an electrifying performer whose shows became legendary events. And as one awestruck witness memorably described, and I quote, "It was like going to see Little Richard. It was a tornado coming through the place," end quote. Now, you can purchase Jackie's. I recently just bought her vinyl, and I think it's called Any Other Way. If I'm accurate on that, yes, 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 it's her album. And I just want to confirm that because I was like, I just bought it, but I'm not at home to like actually make sure that I had it and I can't show it right now. But yes, you can buy the album. I bought it on vinyl because I'm a very big vinyl guy. To where I purchased it just for like the historical context, but also I'm a very big kind of like R&B guy. Um, I want to listen on vinyl rather than listen to it on Spotify. I think I just want to be able to have that first listen be more. I think it's like a word I'm trying to say, and I'm having a very hard time trying to figure out what I'm trying to say. But like embody me when I first listen to it, which is the reason why I haven't listened to the album just yet. And my vinyl player is actually here. So that's the reason why. Um, so as we continue with like Jackie's career, right? This is really just like an overview, as I mentioned. So it's not gonna go like super in depth within it, but just thinking about like I said, being able to work with Motley's crew, the band, being able to travel the world. When she had went to New York, she was able to record a lot more. She's able to visit her family, friends, perform on TV shows when she was in Nashville. Um, and I think it's just like very interesting to be able to see how much her success within her life, especially her music career, really made an impact on creating that connection with her identity and also with music, right? Um, a lot of times people may say that she had sources where she performed in ambiguous clothing, what people may say is similar to like a drag queen, right? And they used to actually label her that, which obviously, in her own words, on that matter of her her gender identification, was more, ambiguous. But she wanted to identify herself in the way that she did, and in the way that best represents who she was. Um, she never technically identified as a trans woman, which you may hear a lot for like older trans identified individuals or individuals within the community, because it wasn't really a term that was, really around often. But she did kind of accept it, I guess you could say, when she did an interview back in 2017, where she made that confirmation. Um, in 1971, at the height of her career, Jackie Shane suddenly withdrew from public life. Not like in a negative way. What I mean is she ended up leaving Toronto, left the music industry behind, returned to Nashville to take care of her mother. And this abrupt departure really created decades of speculation about her whereabouts, right? With many fans and music historians really trying to uncover what happened to her and her talent, obviously. She wanted to maintain that privacy. And this happened for over 4 decades, where she lived quietly and deliberately stayed out of the spotlight. Now, as I mentioned, the mystery of her whereabouts was finally resolved in about 2016, 2017, where music historians and researchers are working on a reissue of her music, located her still obviously living in Nashville. And the rediscover led to a renewed interest in her work and legacy, um, really accumulating in her Grammy, mind you, nominated compilation of Any Other Way in 2018. Despite the attention, Jackie Shane continued to really prioritize her privacy, choosing to engage with her renewed fame, primarily through just doing basic, like I said, telephone interviews, as I mentioned about her coming out and really confirming that she was trans later on, and just really maintaining that peaceful and private life that she wanted. So Jackie Shane's significance, right, extended far beyond just her considerable musical talents, but she embodied, as her producer would say, Douglas McGowan insightfully noted, and I quote, absolutely what I understand to be a modern 21st century transsexual person in the mid 60s, end quote. And performances stood out for her revolutionary combination of radical transparency, unapologetic authenticity, setting her apart really from the, I want to say theoretical in a negative way, obviously, but our drag performance that's out there of the era, and establishing really uh, a new, what's the word I'm looking for? Paradigm. I was like, I'm trying to figure out the word I'm looking for. For gender expression and entertainment. Now, her powerful message of self acceptance and personal truth resonated deeply through both her music and commanding stage presence, as we will often share, as she would often share my apologies with her audience, delivering what became really kind of a personal manifesto, I would say. She would quote, baby, do what you want. Just know what you're doing. As long as you don't force your will and your way on anyone else. Live your life because ain't nobody sanctified and holy. End quote. Now, as I always like to do on these podcast episodes is kind of give some very high level key takeaways that you can go with. This is really more of kind of like impact points. Now, although you can like obviously get the high level overview of that, but just in case people just want like a, excuse me, a very, like I said, high level of that. This is really more from a historical stance rather than from Jackie's life. Like it's part of Jackie's life, but just thinking about like some of the trans historical impact points that she left behind. I think the first one is being that she pioneered really an unprecedented visibility and representation for transgender performers in the 1960s music scene, right? Breaking new ground in an industry that often resisted change. And although a lot of LGBTQ plus performers aren't like super, super duper mainstream per se, we have space where we can all have that music available to us at an easier click of a button, glance, whatever you want to say, in today's times, which is amazing. The second one being that she demonstrated, or her life demonstrated really the revolutionary possibility of living authentically and successfully despite the numerous societal restrictions and prejudice of that particular era, which, as we look at today, very vocal about us being in the community. A lot of us living authentically the way that we want. Unfortunately, it looks like some of those societal restrictions and prejudices may come back just in a more modern era, unfortunately. Uh, Another one is that her life created an enduring blueprint for transgender representation in modern music, influencing really generations of performers who have followed her now. And then lastly, her life preserved a vital historical record through her carefully maintained archival materials and later reissues, providing, like I said, that invaluable documentation of not only transgender history, but also LGBTQ plus history as well. Now, I am going to do a shameless plug, not for me, but for Jackie, where she actually currently has a movie out. This is a brand new documentary that came out in the year 2024, executive produced by Elliot Page, Nia Long, to name two of like our most prominent people out there. This released back in March 9th of 2024. And it basically is a documentary about Jackie's life. Last time I checked, you can, or shit, maybe could have now. Oh, sorry for the kids. You could have watched it on Fubo, but let me see if that is still the case. Look at my where to watch. Crave. It's currently on Crave. I don't have Crave. From the looks of it, you have to pay $9.99 a month. If they give me a free trial, I'm gonna watch it tonight. I meant to watch it last night before I actually recorded this episode, but I was so tired, y'all. I was traveling and doing all kinds of stuff. So like I haven't gotten really any sleep. So I haven't been able to actually watch the movie yet. But you can watch it right now on Crave. Like I said, it's $10 a month right now. And it looks like that's the only place you can watch it, which sucks. And I'm so sorry, y'all, that you gotta pay $10 to watch this movie. But I'm gonna still pay it just because as a historian, it's part of my job. But to close out today's episode, before I go on a very long rabbit hole to find this movie for y'all, to close, Jackie Shane's profound legacy stands as a testament to really the intricate ways that transgender history is really woven into the fabric of broader cultural movements throughout the 20th century. And her remarkable story continues to inspire, educate, and illuminate, demonstrating how individual courage and unwavering authenticity can create lasting change and really forge new paths for future generations to follow. So I just want to thank Jackie so much for being her authentic self, for leaving a mark in music that she obviously is aware of, but to see now coming back into the most recent times that she's able to present as well. So thank you, Jackie, for your work and the remarkable mark that you are leaving on transgender history. To close out, as I always love to do, I'd like to thank you all for listening to today's episode. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can follow us at The Trans Lesson Plan on Instagram and Twitter. TikTok is going away, so there's no point in me getting on that anymore. If you want to follow me, the host Mari, you can follow me at mariiiwrld. That's MAR 3I's WRLD on Instagram, Twitter. We have a newsletter, so if you all want to sign up for that newsletter, I'll make sure I put it in the episode description today so that you can go ahead, just click that link, put your emails in. I promise y'all I won't spam because I don't have enough time to spam. I just like to just share information that I get if I get a chance to write it up and also talk about new episodes ahead of time and when they drop. Like I said, stay tuned for merch. Stay tuned for just Patreon related things, which like I said, I'll talk to y'all about as I get more information on that and getting it all set up and ready to go. We will be having a website strictly for the Trans Lesson Plan, which is currently right now in development. So you stay tuned for that when it releases. And I just appreciate y'all. So thank y'all so much. Season 8 is here. We are started. Now I have to go watch this movie, write up another article and script. But I hope y'all have a great weekend. And MLK weekend, take that extra day to just get some time, relax if you can. Don't watch the news on Monday. I promise it's not going to be the best thing to watch. Don't ruin your Monday day off to watch that. So anyways, thank you all so much. Have a great weekend. Love you. And I will see you all next week on the Translation Podcast.